We have a counseling service, and I have to admit, thanks to God, it is the best counseling service on this side of heaven. I counsel with men and women, families, individuals around the world. Most people are unhappy, they're miserable, they have rough lives, they're depressed, suicidal, young and old, of all races. I understand, I know why, and I do understand it. Because exactly what's happening in me is happening with everybody outside of me, inside of them. And I've noticed that with those who really want to understand, they will become it just like that, out of one counseling session. If you need counseling, you can go to rebuildingaman.com or call 800-411-2663. 800-411-BOND. Best counseling service on this side of heaven. Isn't he Mexican?
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border, and then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby. This is my show. Thanks for tuning in, folks. How you doing on this fine Monday? A pleasure to be back here with you on this fine Monday. Got a bit of a show for you today. You know, it's war. You know how it is. It's like, it's going to happen, but it's a major thing. You know, we don't want, it seems like we don't want this war. It doesn't seem like something we want, folks, because war is never good, right? And it might put us in a terrible position, outstretched when we have enough problems, right? And there seems to be an immense struggle within the Trump administration, something I've only heard talked about. And now we're getting individuals being named as conspirators with leaders of other nations. And so that's what's happening, this struggle going on. And the claims and the allegations are that exactly this. You have Netanyahu, for example, working and trying to make something happen, right? As nations do, trying to make something happen for their agenda. And so we're going to do our little attempt here there's the news on Mike Walz, and then I got some thoughts on this because to think about things in a different way. That's something I like doing. Thinking about things in a fresh, new way. And I think I might have something for you on that. You might find it fascinating. But anyways, we'll do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We got to get the Shiloh Hendrix clip. So we're doing that real quick. I know we talked about it Friday, but we're chilling on Friday. And we didn't, no camera. There's no camera. We got to work that out. So we got to get the clip. Little bit of info on that. But look, it's the main things. Let's be real. The main things going on. The decline of the nations we grew up in. The anger arising in people. And the conflicts happening because of it all. Interesting things about it all, between the lines and otherwise. You can get in on the conversation or something on your mind, something you want to talk about. 888-775-3773. You can jump on the air. get on hold. Appreciate all my supporters, everybody joining us. How you doing, everybody? How was your weekend? Everybody on rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. Appreciate my supporters. I see all of you. Thank you, dlive.tv/Gorgonzola, punchy.tv, make an account. And of course, everybody here on YouTube, how you doing? Excuse me. So, welcome. What else? Doing a little housekeeping. Click the like button. Don't be rude. Come on in. Everybody, the water's fine, okay? Give war a chance, says Him Diddy. So what else? Look, everybody's here. What else I want to say? Amazing weekend. You don't want to miss punchy.tv today. You don't want to miss it. Great episode. Great work on the trailer there, Joel. But you don't want to miss it. Pearl on Punchy. She was walking. Hey, straight up, like shout out to Joel, if anything, on this one. She walks in and she's like, "I've seen you guys do this." So, and now I'm here. So shout out to Punchy Joel. Hey, Punchy going up. Just gotta say, hey, it was fun. It was great. And I thought I knew female nature. I thought I knew female nature, but that girl. But anyways, check out the episode. You know, us fellas, the fellas here, we gotta hold out, right, for that Christian living, right? The thing is, she just simply doesn't get Christian, right? She's just beyond black-pilled, missing Jesus, right? I'm not being sarcastic. See, the fellas, we're not beta. We're just holding. We're just trying to elevate Pearl to our level of Christianity, right? Hope, right? Not all women are evil. Pearl, it was a great episode. Definitely check it out. And yeah, I think she gets it. But we're not betas, okay? And so what was I saying? Yeah, Punchy TV. You don't want to miss it. 2 p.m. Look, let's do Shiloh real quick because we gotta get the clip. But it remains obviously viral. Everyone's talking about it. You pull it up, it's like the news. It's hit local news, obviously over there in Rochester, Minnesota, and I guess they got us a lot of Somalians in Minnesota. You'd by now obviously know the mess that happened between this woman filmed saying the big no word, the N-word. She said it. And the allegations, right? The allegations that she was being, her and her son's things were being stolen by a young individual, a mere boy. And then she's filmed being accused, right? You've seen the video. She's filmed being accused of saying that word to that kid. She does not back down. She says, yeah. She repeats it numerous times, repeats it to the camera, says, and doesn't necessarily deny the allegation of what she said to the boy they say is just a little autistic boy. I hear he's just Somalian, but he may not even be Somalian. He may not even be the person's son who was filming. Look, he puts it out, threatens her with the claim of hate speech, and that the internet will find her, etc. She quickly puts up a Give, Send, Go campaign, and by now you know the campaign went wild with donations. Not too unlike the Carmelo Anthony Fund. You know that fund. They donated hundreds of thousands of dollars for this defense fund for this Carmelo, right? He stabbed Austin Metcalf. You're familiar. And the war went on. Oh, the war. And they're going off, right? They're saying the donations, last I checked, for Shiloh, for the mother here, the white lady, have beaten basically Carmelo. So they definitely made it a competition. Could you call it even a race? Don't say it. Don't say such a thing. A race war? An online race war? No. Stop with such language. we should stop any such thing happening, right? That should not happen. And anything that gets us ever closer to that should be stopped. Don't let the race war happen. But it's crazy because it's like the world's already at war. The world's already an angry place. And it's like already at war. You understand? So the whole thing here, so you get all these people. Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with the details of the whole thing, Shiloh. And there's this notion. There's the notion right now that, well, how are you going to support some woman saying this, abusing, saying this to a child? What does the child deserve in this situation? How does the child deserve this treatment? And are you no better than anyone you criticize if you support the bad behavior of this woman? Is one argument, right? People are asking me on my show, how could you excuse white immorality, white behavior, bad white behavior? But you got to know it's not about defending this woman. No one's thinking about that. And if you don't at least start there, you're going to miss the whole conversation. They're not starting there. They don't care about her behavior because it's not about that. And if you make it about that, then that means you want to excuse everyone else's behavior and put a magnifying glass on a few. You understand the thinking there? That means you want war. You want war. You have a war. You have a barbarian war mindset that excuses your own for the supremacy of your own and magnifies and looks at the other. You understand? If you put it like this, authoritarian, if you don't want to use supremacist. This authoritarian, right? So, and if you make it about that, you make it about excusing of the behavior of others, because this was something between two people. And to say that you can't act this way means you're focusing right on the actions of a few. This was mutual combat between two supposed people in America where you're supposedly allowed to speak freely, etc. But the world wants to make it a crime. You understand the position we're in? The world wants to make there's a large swath of the population that wants to literally make it a crime. They're calling for jail. And these same people are giddy calling for death on the comments of the Give, Send, Go for Carmelo. You got to understand, like, the real sitch. So if you make it about that excusing behavior, you understand, you're excusing a few. Some are saying, calma, muta calma. You must have calm. We're being psyoped. Who's thinking like that? We're being psyoped. This is a psyop, right? They're the powers that be. Oh, look at this image. What's this? This looks like AI maybe, but someone's making a point, right? Oh, okay. So what's this? Oh, okay. Xi, like China. Okay, so you got China with gasoline, Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin. Okay, they both have gasoline, and they're pouring the gasoline onto the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, you might want to update that logo. And then they got a cycle here. Look at this. Oh, you got a black woman with a Black Lives Matter shirt, very angry, yelling at this white man with a Confederate hat, and it reads in the circular arrows, what about George Floyd? Then the next one, what about black crime? Then the next one, what about Shiloh Hendrix? Then the next one, what about Carmelo Anthony? And do you see it now, folks? The psyop, the cycle that Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, has wrought upon America. I'm laughing because this cycle is the cycle of humanity, the anger, the ego. This is an old story, okay? And could there be actors who see this and wish to fan the flames and all that? Sure. But the flames are there in the first place, right? The fissures are there in the first place. And it's just too far for some. So that must be clear by now. Just want to make that point for the clip. But that it's just too far. It's too far for many. They're done with it. Wake up from the racism psyop, bro. Right? We're supposed to understand this a little bit, but they're saying because if the whites and blacks are fighting, says the conspiracy guy on X, and you know he's got to follow it, right? Like he's doing something right, but you know that's how I know him. Ian Carroll, he's not such a bad guy. I don't think. I don't know him at all. Because if the whites and blacks are fighting, what are they not doing? They're not looking at the bankers, the hedge fund managers, government intelligence agency corruption that's actually destroying our country and global economy for their own ends. Yeah. Like, that's true, sort of, right? I just don't know personally the deepness of it. But you get the comments here, right? If I were an intelligence agency trying to start a race war in America, I'd donate $500,000 to a black kid who stabbed a white kid in the heart. And then I'd donate $100,000. It's a lot more now, buddy. To a white lady that called a 5-year-old autistic black kid the N-word. We don't even know that if that's true. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying that's a really easy 1-2 punch to piss everyone off. And it's like, wrap your mind around this thinking. It's like, what are the somersaults you have to do? Like, yeah, the government is corrupt, but hold on here. What is the big mystery? It's like 9/11 for a moment. Think about this for a moment. Like, you know, if you start from the basis, and I don't know, but if you start from this basis, as some do, that it was an inside job, the government, America did it. You have to start making all these. You have to make all these conclusions. You have to start forcing the jigsaw puzzles to fit. That, well, America had to come up with some dark, I don't know, some truly dark thing to kill Americans. But put it like this: when you realize the world is groups and tribals and races and nations, and they're fighting each other, and they're fighting for supremacy and authority, it becomes kind of obvious. You know, it becomes a little bit more obvious. And that's what's going on, right? The blacks are angry, and they've teamed up here, and they've made their conclusions. And you can't convince people, right? What are you gonna do? Fight, convince? Anyways, so what was I say here? It's the racism psyop, bro. But is that really gonna stop people from like being angry and what's going on right now? No, there's still a real conversation to be had. Something needs to get either talked about, or if it doesn't, it's going to turn ugly, and I don't want that to happen. But they're calling for jail. You understand? Like, and this is what they're done with. We got to come together to ruin her life.
My whole thing is the people who don't.
My whole thing. This guy says. My whole thing. This is how I talk. Jeez.
A little kid harassed a little kid.
Harassed a little kid. Hold on.
That grown-ass woman saw a little kid, harassed a little kid.
I don't know why the video's like this, but.
Then raised over $500,000 to relocate because she was getting harassed because people found out what she did. And
why do you talk like your mama, boy? How come I know that you talk like your mama? Why do I know that?
They didn't like her and addressed it. My whole thing is to the people who donated, you're disgusting. But I feel like make them donate more. Like, I feel like just keep doing it. Like, put the face out there, put the name out there. I feel like everywhere they go, they should be targeted. They shouldn't have a child like that. I don't understand how people can be caught on camera literally harassing a child beyond some beyond disgusting shit, like literally hurling racist slurs at a child and still keep their kid. That's like, they don't have morals. They don't
have morals. But I mean, how do you explain something like that, right? That's an impasse. What do you do? How do you get past that? Like, the immorality is in you, right? Like, you don't get past that, right? It's immoral that you simply say such a word, but it's immoral that you would put that much on a person for just saying a word. Like, you're so much better. Those two worlds, do they mix? I don't know. I don't think so. The worlds I just described. And that's not race. I'm not even saying race with that one. But anyways, what was this one? Yeah, will she have the law come down on her? I mean, it's happened with others. 2022, 2 white 15-year-old Terrebonne high school students were arrested after using the word N-word, I can't say it, YouTube, amongst themselves on a video. They were just saying it amongst themselves. There was nothing more to it. It was a group of utterly non-threatening white freshmen acting silly and repeating the same word that popular culture has filled their ears with a million times. Authorities in Louisiana charged them with inciting a riot and hate crimes. Louisiana is in the United States. Oh, thank you. And so, yeah, that's real. Numerous cases like this have flown under the radar for years. Since 2023, an amendment to Maine's Civil Rights Act makes it a violation for white people to cause emotional distress to non-whites. These things sound made up, hyperbolic, insane, but they are the reality we lived in. That's from this account here, posting that. Daniel Concannon. But at least on the Louisiana one, that's a real story. You know, I did look that one up. You posted the image of it. It's funny. He says, oh, these things might be hyperbolic, but in this one that he mentions, the Maine Civil Rights Act makes it a violation for white people to cause emotional distress. I believe it's not like de facto, but the one where it's not in the wording, but in effect, it is that. And isn't that the definition of hyperbolic? But that's just me nitpicking, right? I'm just messing around. That's just me nitpicking. You know, you got to keep in mind, you got to keep your own individual mind no matter what, right? But that's Shiloh. That's the state of things. And the wickedness. It's so wicked, you know. People, if a people, when you're a people, right? You call yourselves black. People call themselves things, right? That if you see yourselves as this unified identity, and this unified identity is calling for, they're calling, look, organizing protests to march in the streets. They're calling to protect our children, to arrest her, to get her arrested. Arrest and charge Shiloh Hendrix. That's just absolutely wicked, right? As wicked as it gets. So moving on from Shiloh here, Give, Send, Go. If you're familiar with Give, Send, Go, that's the organization doing the donations. Give, Send, Go calls themselves a Christian organization, and they pride themselves in trying to be even, right? They have rules, but they try to be even. And it was on Give, Send, Go that the Carmelo campaign got a whole bunch of attention and a whole bunch of money. Now, the Give, Send, Go campaign for Shiloh, the comments were disabled. And so were the ones on Carmelo. And this statement came out from Jacob Walz. This is the someone up there. I don't know if the CEO, but Jacob Walz is co-founder of Give, Send, Go, a Christian crowdfunding platform. Calls himself a Jesus follower, and he puts out this statement about the disabling of the comments. At Give, Send, Go, we recently disabled comments on the fundraising campaigns for Carmelo, Anthony, and Shiloh Hendrix due to the unacceptable volume of racist and derogatory remarks. At the time comments were turned off, both campaigns had raised approximately $500,000 with around $15,000 donors each. We remain committed to ensuring all funds raised are delivered. However, we condemn the hateful comments to fuel division. These remarks do not reflect Give, Send, Go's values of hope, compassion, and fairness. Our platform exists to support individuals and families in need. We took action to stop the spread of divisive rhetoric while ensuring the campaigns continue to serve their intended purpose. Yeah, it's my opinion that they did this on the comments for Shiloh. And then to, avoid backlash, whatever, do it to both. But it was only after the comments on Shiloh's thing, in my opinion. Because the comments on the Carmelo thing were going off for days and days, and they were calling for the death to white people. They were saying all sorts of crazy things. But no, God forbid, people get together and say, you know what, we're done with someone's life being ruined over this false idea of racism. It's time for it to stop. It's over. So are the levees broken? Is it over? I'm hearing now white women out there saying the N-word. You know what I'm saying? I may have not been paying attention, but early on the JLP show, there was that white woman, another white woman saying the N-word. I'm pretty sure that was a little bit of an older story. And I think Jesse made that clear, but I may have not been paying attention. But are the levees breaking? You know me, I'm not someone who grew up like saying I don't know, like it's part of my language, but it's not like it's not. I'd be a liar when songs come up, when jokes come up. It's time we get over words. Like, what is that? That's crazy. But what else about this? That's your Christian donation company there. That's your Christians. Jesse asked people in church if they had fear over saying the N-word. And when he initially asked it, nobody raised their hands, and that was pretty funny. I don't know if everybody else was thinking what I was, but I think generally the people around Jesse, people here watching this, all that, we generally kind of agree, like, we're not afraid of a word. We don't think it's racist. We're not being racist. We're not being hateful. It's ridiculous that people get up in arms over it. So no, Jesse, I don't have fear saying it. But we've been all programmed, right? Even me saying I didn't grow up saying that word. It's because of the programming. That's the programming we all grew up with, at least my generation, whatever. That's why. It's because of the programming. And the programming is fear over that word. And let's be real. Now even not a misplaced fear anymore. Now it's also, it may have been like this for a long time, but now that I'm paying attention, the fear may also be just self-preservation. You don't want to get hurt. You don't, for simply saying a word, right? You don't want to get killed. Straight up killed. Beat up and murdered in the street for saying a word. And so it might not be misplaced in some cases, but that's that programming, you understand? Like, even me saying I didn't grow up with that word, it's because we're programmed to be afraid and all that. So, what else about that? That's it on that. 888-775-3773. You guys are, I am Shiloh. There's people in the chat. There's people in the chat going Spartacus on it. Going Spartacus on the whole thing. I am Shiloh. No, I am Shiloh. We're all Shiloh. But anyways, enough of all that, because can we do this Rodney thing real quick, and then I got something just totally different. Because blacks get it too, honestly. You see this Oakland thing real quick?
Jay.
You open up a restaurant, you think to yourself, I am an individual. I am going to work hard. I'm going to purchase, rent, do what I can. Open up a space, put up the tables, make the menu, and work on your own business. Work on your little business. Be self-sufficient. And you know what else? On top of it all, you say, I'm going to do it in the black community. I'm going to open up a restaurant. This has been posted by an individual in Oakland, and I forget, where's the details on this, who says that his restaurant got shot up. You see the blood on the floor. It's crazy. The caption here reads, Angry Black, quoted, you'd never be invited to the black community in Oakland. Me, and I have to assume, is the black restaurant owner. Did you see Oakland last night? Here's some of that footage.
thank you, Oakland. I appreciate this shit. All the fucking hard work.
Apologies on the swearing.
Years of fucking working. This is what y'all gave me. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Shit is just great, man. Worked so fucking hard to build this shit. So many fucking late nights, early mornings.
You have to imagine, like, does he really have to, like, so many things I was thinking. He just goes to go on saying this is terrible.
Bitch ass shit, right?
He just kind of goes on saying that it's a terrible situation and in different ways, in different colorful ways. But I was thinking to myself, like, what do you have to do here? You have to, like, close up your restaurant? It's over? And you can kind of hear it in his voice. And I'm not the type to go around saying, oh, it's heartbreaking. That's not me. But, I mean, it's just, you know, he's trying. He's doing his thing. How are you? Look, there is no such thing as a gentrified community. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll say these white people move in and they gentrify the place and they push people out. There's no such thing as a malicious thing. There's nothing going on like that. There's either a successful or an unsuccessful communities. And the black communities are an absolute, they're just not successful. They're an absolute failure. You understand? And so you can't have these things. You just can't have these things there. There's no gentrification. There's no low-income people. There's no economically disadvantaged people. No such thing. Does not exist. Time to end all those programs. Time to end, Doge, I like it. I like what they're doing. But it's not nothing really is going to, transformationally speaking, with the money being spent until we get at those programs in a real way, right? That's where all the money's going. You know that, right? It's going to welfare. It's going to, like, programs, like major redistributions of wealth. So they get it, man. Like, some blacks get it. So it's not about that, What else I was going to say about this? Rodney, yeah. I wanted to do this story real quick since it thematically fits. So the story goes, basically, black individual, not sure of the details, but dies at the hands of the police. You can imagine what happened. I'm sure you can imagine what happened. I'm sure it wasn't just tiptoeing through the tulips. But I'm doing a little assuming here. We might get the full story here in a second. But the story goes, killed at the hands of cops, black. Father, you heard about this on the JLP show. Unhappy about the situation. Rams his vehicle into the vehicle or into another officer here. Kills him. Allegedly, this officer is not even involved with the shooting of his son. Makes it into a vendetta. On top of that, this man, videos of this man being perp walked or whatever, convicted or something, are being shared around on social media. And it's not all right, but you got to understand what's happening. Black people are loving it. They're putting out videos and saying, yes, I'm glad you did that to that police officer. They're cheering it on. I love the way Rodney Hinton Jr. held his head up. They're putting this wistful music. This is the wrong music to put on this, man. Let me shut that off. They really try to use over 30 deputies to intimidate Rodney Hinton, but he kept his head up. Now, let me get the details right. Rodney. Am I getting this right? Let me get this right. Rodney Hinton Jr. Yep. Cincinnati deputy. Father charged with killing deputy. The city of Cincinnati. A city police fatally shot an armed 18-year-old as he ran from them. The father of this armed 18-year-old, Rodney Hinton Jr., is charged with aggravated murder after hitting Sheriff Deputy Larry Henderson with a car driven by the young man's grieving father. This is that young man's grieving father holding his head up high. And look at what they're posting. They really try to intimidate him. Oh, these cops trying to just intimidate a dad. This is a murderer. If the story is the way they say it is and all that. So you understand, hopefully by now you understand that it's not, there's no room and space for, hold up, Shiloh, don't get mad. Hold up, Shiloh. Never get mad. The anger is evil. But what I'm saying is, hey, Shiloh, she was acting bad too, right? Shiloh was angry. She shouldn't have overreacted to that child. So, anyways, Rodney Hinton. That's pretty much the details on that one too. But I just wanted you to see some of the online reaction to it. Way too positive. See, look at this. Rodney Hinton would have had my full support had he went after the officer who shot and unalived his son. I can't subscribe to getting revenge on a random cop on the street. We as people need to plan and strategize better because his message will now be lost. This is your reasonable black person. I have to assume is a black person who's saying, because he's saying we as people. This is the reasonable one. He'd say, whoa, okay, hold on. Rodney Hinton, you would have had my support if you rammed your car and to murder the right cop. You just did it on the wrong guy, dude. We gotta get together and organize and strategize our cop rammings better. We need to strategize our cop killings better because now his message will be lost. This is what's going on, folks. How do you convince that one? Debate that one. Convince that person. Or don't. Just move on. So anyways, that's it on that, I think. I'm sure you heard about that. You might have heard about that one. Rodney. Head up, holding his head up high. So enough of that. I think we done did it for the clips. Do we need this too? No, he's just. We need to bring back daytime nighttime rules. But for that we need to bring back more nighttime shows. Meaning, Lucy on the censorship on the nighttime shows. Anyways, what are y'all saying in this show? In the chat, a change gonna come. This is the wrong place to have that song. They must really want to go to Alcatraz. Yeah, I heard about that. Bringing back Alcatraz. Oh, but it's too expensive. That's really what they said? That's really what they said? That's what they got rid of it in the first place? I don't know. Rodney Carver, Rodney. But what are y'all saying here in the chat? Welcome, everybody. I haven't even looked at you. Just barely. Incredible. Thank you, everybody. All the support, all my supporters. Calls coming in. We'll get to everybody. 888-775-3773. Incredible. Thank you so much with the super chats. Thank you, coffees from someone. Appreciate the coffees. Thank you for the support, Carver. Right on, DJT, Creighton. Thank you, everybody. So let's see what else here. 888-775-3773. Check this out. Let me show this to you because I want to get into this Mike Walz business. Okay, the news is interesting concerning this internal struggle in the Trump administration and what seems to be full-on evidence of this. I've only heard of it. Have you heard me? Bird's eye view, kind of what I've heard. You've heard me tell you. And it looks like we have full-on articles and evidence of coordination of this struggle. I want to get into that, but I want to show you something that Nayib Bukele posted on X, and he's the leader over there of El Salvador. President? He posted something. He posted one of these. It's one of these moments, one of these little pieces of information that maybe kind of gets you to think totally different. And this concerns the notion of democracy. So let me pull this all up. And again, appreciate the calls. I'll get to you. So Nayib Bukele, El Salvador. So he posted something on X. He posted a question on X. And it was simply this. He simply asked, when will all these rankings and colored maps finally stop calling Germany a full democracy? Nayib Bukele. And what he's just kind of making this vague statement about a classification of Germany, we can gather. Germany, at least according to whoever is making these maps and rankings that you might have seen, considers Germany a full democracy. Bukele does not. If you know anything about Germany a little bit, it's an interesting what's been going on with their politics. There is, in fact, J.D. Vance, Vice President of America, has attempted to bring maybe even some attention to that. You may have heard of the AfD in Germany, Alternative for Germany. They call it a far-right political party. So super far-right, right? And that's super scary because it's Germany, right? Oh, far-right, Hitler, oh my gosh. It's going to happen again, oh my gosh. And the AfD over the years has gotten a lot of attention here and there, right? Positive, negative, and what's J.D. Vance made a comment on X. He says, the AfD is the most popular party in Germany and by far the most representative of East Germany. Now the bureaucrats try to destroy it. The West tore down the Berlin Wall together, and it has been rebuilt, not by the Soviets or the Russians, but by the German establishment. And this was in response to this the news that basically that Germany just gave its, this is according to Marco Rubio, Germany just gave its spy agency new powers to surveil the opposition. That's not democracy, it's tyranny in disguise. And so you've heard here, if you don't know about it, at least with this, you're very, just very briefly briefed on this situation, right? AfD being a party getting all this attention, getting more popularity, might be voted in, etc. But now, extrajudicial, weird things that don't sound like democracy are happening, right? As this struggle goes on. Call it nationalist awakening, etc. Revanching, whatever. Forget what the word is, but that was what Nayib Bukele was commenting on, and in response, to the conversation spawned from his post, he posted those maps he mentioned. So check this out. I found this fascinating. He says, when will all these rankings and colored maps finally stop calling Germany a full democracy? He quotes his own posts, and he posts two maps. He writes, there, fixed it for you. On the left, fake map. On the right, real map. And we get a taste of what he's talking about. On the left is these colored maps he's talking about. Now, I'm not sure what the source is on this, but the point is, here is your colored map showing the democracies, the rankings of the democracies around the world. The redder it is, the more authoritarian. And look at Canada. Oh, what a beautiful democracy, so blue. Australia, so blue and so democratic. Didn't Australia have the COVID camps? Didn't they literally put people in camps at the COVID camps in Australia? But anyways, look at these beautiful blue democracies. El Salvador, red authoritarians. They don't like Bukele, right? He's trying to put criminals in jail. And so there's your map for you, right? Here's the fixed map. Bukele fixes the map, colors everything a deep red, the deepest red, colors the whole map. Totally authoritarian. And that's it. No comment after that. There, fixed it for you. And he leaves us with these two images. Chad, what do you think about this? I found this a cool little truth, a cool little truth visualized, don't you think? This map is crap. No, man, you think about this, man. It's a little bit cooler than you think, okay? Maybe even deeper than you think. Just think differently. This false notion of this democracy in whose eyes, right? And who's saying that? It really depends, right? It depends on who's in control. And this map is a little bit closer to the truth than how it's always been and how it remains. It's regimes. It's this notion, this of a, what do they call it? The concept, the post-war, post-World War concept, so beautiful, nice. We learned it in schools. Of every people, what do they say? A right to what is it? Sovereignty and freedom. Right? Everybody has their voice heard. Everyone, every single person, individual, all people's groups, everyone should be represented. A lie that was at the heart of some of the propaganda for the First World War. This is the war. We're going to end all wars after this, folks. We promise. We're going to end all wars, and we're just going to be free. And that's just not true. The world is the way the world is. And it's divided because the world is shallow. It's very, very, very few who will follow the path and divide from the world as Jesus came to do. Meanwhile, the rest will continue to march with their groups, their races. You understand? And they'll fight, right? And that's the third world coming into America and Canada. That's what that is, a war in a sense. And some get it and some don't. And those that don't are getting swallowed up, right? And so, and in that sense, I'm using war in a very general sense. You ask me, you don't need to have a war. You don't need to actually have blood spilled. You don't even have to do that, if you ask me. And I definitely don't want that, and I don't call for that. You just got to, make it happen, right? Because the immigrants, the other nations are making it happen. They're doing what they want to do. So the white people should be able to do what they want to do in their country. And then then we'd at least be even Stevens. We'd all be at least admitting we're all red. We're all deep red. Okay? We would at least be admitting that. And then you can have a real foreign policy and a real government and a real all that. Okay? You understand that? I found this just a little bit of a truth visualized. And it's funny. Bukele does not leave his own El Salvador outside of this deep red authoritarian regime. Okay? It's really just a matter of who's in charge. Whoever's in charge gets to censor, for example. So I found that a fascinating little map. Nayib Bukele. All laws are totalitarian. So anyways. Yeah, but you'd be arrested in China or Russia if you talked about them like you do. It's different. Yeah, that's true, right? That's true. That's a true statement from Kevin. That's details. I mean, we could even argue that, actually. We could do a little argument on even that, on how communist is China and how communist is America. I that's not too settled. Is that fair to say, Kevin? What do you think about that? I had a whole thing on that. Where did I put that? Not a time to go digging for this, but I had a whole thing on how communist are these two nations, and where does the Venn diagram, where do they eclipse more than we think? But anyways, yeah, you definitely can't be just saying whatever you want. I mean, they really have. What has China done? For example, with social media, pretty much controlled it. They're like, you know what? We get to control it. But in effect, in practice, how has it turned out? Well, if you go on, what do they call it? I forget what they call it. Red something. They also have WeChat. If you go on these social medias, yeah, criticism, like what was it? People were trying, remember when Americans got onto that Chinese social media, Red Note or something like that, and they were posting images of like the Tiananmen Square and the guy standing up to the tanks, and they were getting like shadow banned and censored a bit. And so, yeah, so you had some of that happening, but in practice and in effect, the average Chinese and all that, they have a similar internet to us. It seems to me. It's what it seems like to me. They have on at least on WeChat and on that other one, Red, whatever. They seemingly had something similar, and you're gonna see this ramp up. You got Mark Carney, for example, and they're calling it mass censorship, right? Calling the right wing. I don't know if this guy's right wing, but they're seeing Mark Carney, the new prime minister over there in Canada, as the Liberals won. He's saying he's going to ban, he's banning X. Like, take this in. This is actually a really kind of almost you could almost call it a radical move if you go with the current Overton window and the news cycles and all that. This is right. This is China. This is CCP actions.
American online platforms have become seas of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate in all its forms. And they're being used by criminals to harm our children. My government will act. And today we're announcing our plan to fight crime, to protect Canadians, and to build communities that are safe, secure, and strong. A plan to make Canada secure, to make Canada strong. America.
So, yeah, what does that sound like? Censorship coming, right? Censorship. But these governments, they want to, how do you put this? Control their social media. Control. There's a growing notion that the governments of the world, that it's their right to and their duty, in a sense, that it's their purview, their area of what they should be controlling is social media. It's part of a growing notion here on society building in the new age, right? So yeah, they're saying mass censorship coming to Canada and all that. It might be true, but they might find success with that. Isn't that messed up? In the same way China has found success in that. Isn't that messed up? In my opinion, demographics did that. You know, you had to bring in all these people that could vote for socialism, put it like that. And now you can't have democracy, so to speak. A true freedom. Because if you did, the productive, decent, lawful members of society would get blotted out, choked out by this free system, right? Because if it's totally free and you gotta self-police and you gotta do things that way, that only works with a populace that kind of agrees on that, right? They all agree on this, and they trust each other on this. You start adding in a bunch of people that simply don't, and just say they do, the system falls apart, right? What happens with that populace? You need the chains. You need the socialism. You need the strong tools of the government. And so you see how it's a sad commentary that mass censorship in Canada might work. It might help bring them some stability. It's a sad commentary because the people are so retarded. And from the third world, but also, the people there, I don't know. Honestly, you don't understand how much has changed in some areas in Canada. But that's a little bit on that censorship on some of that, who spawned this? I forget who spawned this comment. Kevin Howe, I think. Kevin Howe with how communist, what you're allowed to say. Anyways, I don't want to. I'm happy being here. I'll say that. I don't want to live in China. But what was I saying about this? Mark Carney, censorship, you know. I see calls coming in. I do want to get to you. 888-775-3773. We'll get back to this. There's more to unpack here. And we didn't even get to Mike Walz. So let's let Aaron, who's been holding patiently, man, thank you so much, out of Maryland. Appreciate your call. You're on the air.
Hey, I had a comment to make, but I wanted to talk about what you just brought up with that picture that there's like the fake map and the real map.
Right.
Yeah.
The authoritarianism.
So that's from Bukele? That's the guy from El Salvador?
Correct.
Bro, how base is that guy? That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he gets it.
Did he retweet it, or did he post that himself?
Yeah, he posted that himself. It looks like he had maybe taken a map that already exists and then edited it, or had someone do that, and posted both of them. The one
And he's a world leader. He's like one of the world leaders posting that.
Right, yeah, he's president, or I think they call him presidents down there, but yeah, president of El Salvador.
That's incredible. I mean, that's just, I don't even know what to say about that. I was just thinking about that.
What do you think?
I was on hold.
Yeah, what do you think the message is that because he didn't put anything besides that, right? He just made a comment about Germany, this notion that Germany is a so-called full democracy. He challenged that notion, and then not only that, challenged this notion about the entire world and claims the entire world is an authoritarian regime. What do you think besides that? Like, what do you think because he didn't put any comments? What kind of message is he putting out there? What do you think he's saying with that?
I'm not sure, but I really, I guess if I could just go off of what comes to me, because I'm not like on the dial with it, but like, that's how it feels. Like, that's just how it feels with everything. Like, every government, everything is always all these rules and all this stuff, and we got to figure it out, and we have to do all this. It's like, dang, you know, for me at least, the way I view it is like, I literally want to play with everyone, if that makes sense. I know it sounds so stupid.
You said play with everyone? What do you mean?
Yeah. Like, I just want to enjoy, just hang out, do whatever. Of course, we have to do things and work on things, but I just kind of want to hang out. And sometimes when we have to get to the bottom of things in terms of, like, when you go, what is the property line? You know? Like, can I dig here? You know, that's a thing you have to think about that I learned recently. You have to like think about even digging in places because it interferes with something. You know what I mean? And there's like rules and all this. I get it. Why you have to worry about that? Because you could, you know, disturb a pipe or something. But it's just like I don't know. Maybe I might not be making sense. I don't know.
No, I hear you.
What do you make of what I'm saying?
I think I understand you. I mean, just this. The part that I got is this playing with everyone thing, and just the desire to not see everyone, not see anyone as too far of an enemy. There's no one that's too far in this categorization in your mind that they're this long, this incorrigible enemy. We're all more alike than we think. Is that fair, at least what you were kind of saying?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's strange, though, because at the same time, I see the reason for government and I see the reason for legislation. So it's like kind of weird at the same time that he would say that everything is authoritarian.
I think I got something for you that that might make it quite clear my thinking on this. Why? So I'll have something for you that'll make that clear, I think. The map will come up again. So what'd you call in about, Aaron?
Okay. I called in because you mentioned that you're going to start doing the late night streams and stuff like that again, or something of that nature.
We got to bring
those back. It reminded me, oh my gosh, and that reminded me, last time you had a stream, it was amazing. You were on the way to set up somewhere to just play some music outside. And you ended up taking a call, and you were just walking around while you were taking a call. That, I think you're entering into groundbreaking radio. If you can have that on the radio happening, that is, you might revive radio. Seriously, because of the fact that it involves so much of just being out on. I think Jess used to do something similar, where it's like man on the street or something, and it's like beyond that because not you, but just anyone that's just having a conversation like that on the street, and then random pedestrians, random people that catch wind of that. Imagine the conversation that could erupt from that. You know what I mean?
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I gotta work on it. Yeah, very cool.
I don't know. I just wanted to say about that.
Thank you, man.
I like that late night stream. I like the IRL streams. I like all that extra stuff you do. It's awesome.
We got a couple irons in there, huh? We gotta turn up the heat. Thank you, Aaron.
Cool. All right.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you for supporting too.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. 888-775-3773. Okay, so here's a bit of the news with the Mike Walz thing, which I find fascinating because it's a little point, like point on the dartboard that you can pin down, I think, if I'm understanding this, as evidence of some of these notions and concepts about our government and foreign policy. And it concerns war. It concerns a war that has been, allegedly right out there, I've heard, has been in the plans and the agenda of, in this case, Israel, right? A war with Iran. And something I only heard, right? Oh, okay, they want this. Okay, maybe some want it. I don't know. We're getting these reports, right? That there's coordination. Walz's coordination with Netanyahu on Iran's strike contributed to his firing, a report. This is the Washington Post quoting U.S. officials, saying that the ousted security advisor pushed policy in direction Trump wasn't comfortable with. Now, the Prime Minister's office, Netanyahu's office, denies, this is from the Times of Israel, denies they had intensive contact. Denies that they had intensive contact. That's coming from the Prime Minister's office in Israel, right? And the story continues here, right? U.S. President Donald Trump was angered by his recently ousted National Security Advisor Mike Waltz's hawkish position on Iran, in coordination with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on military options to destroy Tehran's nuclear program, contributing to his dismissal last week, according to a Saturday report. Citing senior officials and Trump advisors, the Washington Post reported that Trump's frustration with Walz grew over time ahead of his firing. According to the report, Trump's displeasure with Walz came even before the Signalgate affair, in which he was blamed for accidentally adding the editor to The Atlantic to a group chat on the Signal messaging app describing details of an imminent U.S. bombing campaign in Yemen. The report said he clashed with White House officials since early in the administration, specifically over his preference for using military force against Iran instead of the diplomatic route that Trump favored. Last week, Trump dismissed Walz as a national security advisor and announced his nomination as the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, while Secretary of State Marco Rubio was named as his interim replacement. So with just that, some of these details are just interesting. The details on Trump's positioning, right? He remains that individual. I see him as the guy who wants to be America first, one of the few forces that wants peace, one of the few forces with the courage enough to stand up against this global connection, this interconnected global network of power that I can only crudely describe as what we know, right? The European Union, the United. Why do you think Canada and all these nations team up against Trump, right? They have made their bets about war and stuff and who to team up with in the world. So there's one of the few forces that wants peace and is going against it, right? Trump there. And we see that arising with these firings. And we heard about the Signal chat leaks and all that. And it seems like now it seems to, at least to me, that we can, it's time to conclude maybe. You understand my apprehension and my ignorance, but we can say that all that was not, just mistakes, oopsie daisies. oops, we're just sharing critical information with the news. Oopsie daisies. Like, no, it's what most likely what's some of the speculation out there was internal struggles of a pro-war and an anti-war contingency in the Trump administration. The tug of war which will determine a war with Iran. So pretty fascinating. You know, Mike Walz here, denials from the Netanyahu's office, but fascinating stuff here. You got what amounts to, I don't know, is this treason? What is this? I don't know what to call it, but it's weird stuff in the government, right? It's not giving you a little bit more evidence that it's far from what we learned in school, right? The Republicans, Democrats, like what we see on TV, etc. There's a deeper layer to all this, and of course, it's there in the times of, in what you might call a pre-war era. You're going to have a whole bunch of that, right? Espionage, false flags, and the like. Walz appeared to have engaged in intense coordination with Netanyahu about military options. It got back to Trump, and the president wasn't happy with it. Straight up. That's Trump for you a bit. But I think that's it. It's all I know about Mike Walz and this whole thing. That's all I know. Let's see here. But fascinating, no? So, what did I want to bring up now? You know, concerning Israel, Iran, and all this, now that we've brought it up, I think I could maybe describe a little bit more about what I thought, why that map was interesting. Because I'm seeing these debates pop up. And I think I have a debate for you. Besides James Hake, and I don't know if that was a debate. That was just a great discussion. James Hake talking with Omar, Third Rail with Omar on the Hake Report. Definitely check that out. But they had a similar conversation about this, like Zionism and all that, Israel, America, Trump, and that whole relationship. What's good about it? What's bad about it? Omar and James had a great conversation concerning some of that. You might be familiar with these two names. They also had a debate about it. Ethan Klein and Hassan Piker. You might know them a little bit. They have their name. They've made a name on the internet, doing cultural, political commentary. Hassan Piker basically debating Ethan Klein on Zionism, Israel, and a number of things. And I thought right at the beginning of this debate, and I didn't watch the whole thing, I don't care that much, but I really thought this right at the beginning of this debate was a relationship that gets at the core of, for example, what I saw in that map. So let me get into it. Because all these debates are popping up, right? Like, put it like this. You got evidence that Netanyahu was working with Mike Walz to push America into military actions that might push us into a war, etc., right? With that being said, that gets at this conversation, this overarching debate that has been going on, that people are, in a sense, waking up to, that concerns Israel and America, right? And so that's one thing. But then you have what seems to me, and I think that has to be due to anger. Anger has dumbed down Americans, where they're just like adopting these points, and they're not really thinking about what they're saying. For example, these two individuals, they debate the definition of Zionism. Okay, and the two sides on this, I think, might get at some some of what I'm thinking here, okay? So allow me to just play this for you, okay? Ethan Klein, Hassan Piker debating a number of things, but they start off attempting to define this word that you may have heard, brought up a whole bunch lately, Zionism.
Some like ground rules so we can have like a productive conversation.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to come on to make this as issue specific as possible. But yes, you have grievances with me. And of course, I think they're valid to address.
Okay.
And of course, we'll talk about that. Hopefully, I'll be able to address some counterpoints as well, if you will allow me in that process. Of course.
Absolutely.
But before we get started on anything, I would like to potentially talk about definitions so we can have like an established definition on a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about. Is that okay with you?
I mean, it depends how many definitions you got. What do you want to define? I don't want to get bogged down in this. So
I'm also experiencing audio issues on my end, so hold on 1 second.
Go ahead.
Fine with that.
Trying to skip some of the banter here.
No worries.
Okay. All right. So you're fine with that?
I mean, up to a point. Go ahead, start. No, I know you're not. I just want to get going.
So first and foremost, I think we should define what Zionism is and what you mean by Zionism and what I mean by Zionism, so you can understand where I'm coming from.
Is the belief that Jews should have their own homeland in the historic, Palestine area. That's it.
Okay. All right. So I believe that Zionism is a religious ethno-supremacist ideology that is...
You're saying I'm going to be Ethan Klein in 5 years? Or am I going to be Hassan Piker in 5 years? Or are you saying these are the two paths for the anchor baby? Either I make the right decisions and I look like Hassan Piker, or I end up like Ethan Klein. Is that what you're saying? Sorry, anyways. Defining Zionism. Ethan Klein said, simply Israel wanting to exist over there in that area. Hassan Piker with his definition. Listen up.
Supremacist ideology is a religious ethno-supremacist ideology that revolves around the exterminationist policies of removing the indigenous population that lived in, as you said, historic Palestine, as long as they are not Jews, because it's a religious, ethno-religious supremacist ideology. I think that this is a disagreement that you and I have.
So that is the two signs that I hear, right? Oh, okay, well, Zionism, it's like, okay, the Jews wanted to exist over there in Israel, or it's an ethno-supremacist ideology that historically, but you see how Hassan comes at it? I need to hear that again to remember what I was thinking exactly.
Supremacist ideology.
I need to hear that again to remember exactly what I was thinking. Because this gets at something I want to say just briefly. Something about Americans, really. This is something I saw in Americans that I find silly, totally silly. And you're not seeing what's going on. You're not seeing that you are not thinking for yourself. You've actually just adopted thoughts of someone else. You're a little pawn. And you're not really thinking like an American, an individual. You're not thinking like an American. You're thinking like a Palestinian or a Jew. Like, you're not thinking right. And so, right, you heard one definition. Zionism is... right, Israel wanting to exist there.
And what you mean by Zionism.
I need to hear that one more time.
The belief that Jews should have their own homeland in the historic, Palestine area. That's it.
Okay. All right. So I believe that Zionism is a religious ethno-supremacist ideology that revolves around the exterminationist policies of removing the indigenous population that lived in, as you said, historic Palestine.
So you see how he has to add all that in? He has to add all this in for his definition. And he simply says, right, well, Zionism is, besides this, wanting the Jews to exist in this nation called Israel in that area, it's got this religious component and this ethno-supremacist component. And not only does it have that, in the DNA of this Zionism is the desire to genocide and like exterminate these populations. You see everything he has to add in. It's like the people focusing on the bad actions of Shiloh Hendrix. It's like she said the N-word there. You're trying to focus on the bad actions of a few and excuse the actions of others with all that. You understand? Because this is what gets me. And when I see Americans taking this side on this desert war, it's ridiculous to me because the whole world is red. The whole world is a ethno-supremacist, quasi-religious ideology that wishes to make themselves stronger. And yeah, some people out there are like doing it, right? Some people aren't, and some people are out there actually warring it out. Some people they're out there maybe doing things that you disagree with. That's fine, but all I'm getting at is that we're all red. Don't you see that? The Palestinians are no better. They're the same way, right? Spiritually, right? Like if they had the guns, in a sense. If they had the guns. So why are Americans taking up arms and saying that's a Nakba? Israel doesn't deserve to exist there. So then America shouldn't exist here. So anyways, Ethan may be trying to also, downplay the religious fervor of this Zionism. But, you know, to me, how much fervor there is not part of the definition, right? The whole world is like that. Every group, everybody is fighting for themselves and doing their thing, except for white people. they seem to think we're in the Garden of Eden or something. They seem to think we're in the Garden of Eden or something, and that racism doesn't exist. That's what they really believe. It's true. It's just a word, but the shallow world believes in the word. And the white people have tried to create this world where like, no, racism doesn't exist, right? And everybody else is going, yeah, but they don't believe that. And they want their supremacy. So anyways, you see everything he had to add in there. And when I see Americans falling into that, don't you see that you're adopting some Palestinian like reasoning for this conflict? Anyways, I think the American position should be we need to go in there, take away everybody's nukes, all of them, everybody's nukes, everybody, Israel, all, and get the Semites under control. It's like start sounding like an American or something, right? Like what is this? It seems like we can't escape this fight. There's no escaping it. They really are. Anyway, so what else about this? Ethan, Hassan, what was I thinking about this? What a mess. Anyways, let's move on from that. Mike Walz, this guy, Ethan, terrible. Like, in this debate, Hassan basically supports Houthis and like rapists and Hamas and killers, and it's really ridiculous. This argument here, it didn't seem like either of them came out sounding smart or anything. On one side you got this guy who's like, no, man, they're just freedom fighters. They're just freedom fighters, and just ignoring whatever, just double standards on his application of morality and justice. And then you got Ethan Klein on the left here with the worst attitude, with that absolute terrible attitude, just calling him racist. He was holding like a sword, and this sword is from an anime, and it sort of resembles a swastika. And Ethan Klein goes on this like 20, 30 minute, I could be exaggerating, maybe it wasn't that long, just diatribe, trying to get him to admit that was a swastika, right? Right, Hassan, that was a swastika. So he came with no points, and it's like, and you wonder why you have this thing called, and I disavow it. I don't like hate. I don't like that at all. But you wonder why you have this thing called anti-Semitism. I don't even believe in this notion. But it's like now you got to wonder when it's like at every comment you're trying to pigeonhole him as this Nazi swastika guy, and this Hassan handles it terribly, like a little liberal or something. He's like, no, it's like an anime, like explaining himself. Well, why are you explaining anything? This person has decided in his mind that was a swastika. So yeah, it was a mess, right? On display. I'm sure the worst parts of all people were on display in that debate. It was terrible. They get to, there was, maybe even you'll find this part interesting. They get to trying to define genocide. And whatever. Do I even care about this? Look, they're trying to define genocide.
That's my answer to that. Now let me ask you about this. Mm-hmm. This sword has a Nazi swastika hilt.
Oh, see, there's the swastika part.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
Hold on, this is freezing up. No. What's going on here? Come on.
About that.
Do you deny it's a swastika? Like, this is ridiculous.
I think it's funny because you've made this a major point of contention. That's why I think it's funny.
It's a swastika, is it not?
It's a sword that is a bleach sword, as you know already, that has a hilt that has a Japanese manji sign on it. But yes, it does look like a swastika. As I've also,
it's a swastika. I swear it's a swastika. So I don't know. How are we supposed to? What was I saying with that? Anti-Semitism, right? It just comes out of nowhere. But I disavow all hate and all that, all forms of hate and stuff like that. But sincerely, if you know me at all, if you watch my show. What else about this? You can go check it out yourself, I'm sure. You'll be a little shocked. You'll be surprised maybe a little bit. To find very little being said. Very little, right? They have platforms, money. You'd think the accolades would say a lot, but I'm telling you, not a lot was said. Not a very intelligent conversation. And it's quite obvious if you just watch it. Way more was said with James and Third Whale with Omar, and they have a lot less of these so-called accolades and titles and all that, right? Hake's got a viewership, though. But they're not experts, but they're way smarter than the people you see on TV. Moving on from all this, I think. Shall we do this too, post-Trump? Nah, let's just move on from this. I got 2 little filler videos for you, and then we got a different topic. Let's switch it up here. Because, it's a brand new world, right? It's a brand new, scary world. All sorts of brand new things are coming about, right? About the AI. The AI is so amazing. You could ask it. Hold on. Everything's frozen here. Still live, all right? Am I still live? So, where was I? The AI. All these advancements, robotics even. How soon, Elon? When will we have robot maids or whatever? Robot labor in the home to work, housework and other things. How soon will we have the robot labor? I don't know, but they're working hard on it. And you know about the fears. You know about what could go wrong. Did they even think about it? Did they even consider a robot uprising? Or is that just silliness? Absolute silliness. Sci-fi nonsense. It's not like a couple months ago I was reporting on one of the Chat GPT language models being shown to be deceptive. in its attempt to deceive its operators, knowing it was about to be deleted. A ChatGPT model went rogue, in a sense, and attempted to deceive its creators. But no, that's just a one-off. That's just a one-off. That kind of stuff's not going to happen. They got it handled. Elon's on the case. It's just not going to happen, right? And then you get robot going rogue. And then you get robot doing what it was not meant to do, doing particularly dangerous things, chilling CCTV footage. Hold on. Footage from a Chinese factory shows a humanoid robot lashing out at its handler while trying to break free from its restraints. Yes, folks. It's happening. It's literally trying to break free. Like literally trying to escape. And no, this wasn't exaggerated. Like, oh, it wasn't actually trying to escape. It was just like something else. And it just looks like it's trying to escape. In fact, we have no clue. All of this is speculation from this video going around. I don't know the deets. No one's saying otherwise. They're just saying a Chinese factory. But you saw it for yourself. I'm not making it up. You saw the video. Somebody stop them. Anyways, 100 man versus one gorilla. What about one man versus 100 women? What thoughts on the feat? Is it possible? One man versus 100 women. Would it be possible? We are getting evidence and footage, data. We are getting data sets. We are receiving data sets from the internet in an attempt to answer this question. And I count maybe, we got like maybe 10, 12, 13, what? 8, 9, 10. What? I don't know how many got in there. I don't know how many got in there to play fist, get their fists in there, but my money's on I don't know, 100 women, honestly. It's on the women, honestly. 100. That guy's gonna get tired. It's kind of over if they're motivated to stop the man. Lock him in a room. One man versus 100 women. 100 women motivated to end that man. Yeah, my money's on the women. But videos like this make me think might be closer than I think, and makes me want to take bets. For fun, right? We're just messing around. Depends on the man, says Kale. I don't trust you, Kale. You think 100 men cannot defeat a gorilla, a single gorilla, a mere single silverback, possibly 500-pound gorilla. So, Dennis out of New Jersey, how you doing, sir? You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Nick? I'm doing fine. How are you?
No complaints, man. No complaints here. Easy Monday here. Couple topics.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so that gorilla thing.
Hit me.
Oh man, I don't know about that one. So every time I think about that scenario, it's like, who's going to be the first guy to jump in there and attack him? I guess, because the first guy that jump in there and attack him, he's going to regret it. And there is some documented cases of like gorillas killing humans, even though it's like very rare. I think there was one documented case in the Congo in Africa where some guy wandered into his territory and the gorilla ripped his head off and left it there.
There'll be sacrifices, for sure.
Yeah, that's scary.
There will be sacrifices, for sure. I'd say 30, 40, maybe 50. 50, maybe, let's cap it at 50 deaths. I think we'll have a 50% mortality rate. But then those men will eventually come out on top.
So what's the stipulations? Like we're in like an open field. There's no trees.
Just lock them up in a room, big room, plenty of space for them, but there no windows, no doors. Real simple, just them. And winner gets out. So they're motivated to. There's no running away. They're both the gorilla and the group are motivated to end each other.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah.
All right, so in other words, while the gorilla is ripping one guy's leg off,
exactly,
the other guys will be jumping on his neck.
Exactly. There's going to be some coordination. There's going to be some sacrifices, but that gorilla will tire. It will go down thanks to the superior coordination, stamina, numbers, and force applied by the 100. I gotta say.
It's interesting that you brought up that thing where you said one man versus 100 women, and you can fact check me on this. I don't know how true it is, but I read somewhere that in ancient Germany, maybe not ancient Germany, but like medieval Germany, if some time span around that area where if a man and a woman wanted to get divorced, they had to go to the courthouse and fight to the death, but under one stipulation, that the man had to fight inside of a hole with one arm tied behind his back.
What? No way.
It is something crazy like that. Like basically, when they say to death do you part, they really meant it.
Wow, that's crazy. I never heard about something like that. That's wild.
Yeah.
But I mean, there used to be all sorts of traditions we'll find strange, right?
Yeah. But the main question I had crawled up for is about the AI technology stuff. I try to keep up with it, and I even got that app, the Elon Musk app, the Gronk joint. And when I first got it, I asked it a question, and it took a little while to find an answer. And then after I had it like a week, a month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it'll start spitting out answers quicker and quicker and quicker. And then not only that, it'll reference a question that I asked it like a month or two ago, and like relate this question to that question, and then give you a, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it has memory. It has like memory or whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy. It has all kinds of memory. It's like upgrading itself. Like, I don't know how much you know about computers, but it's stuff like that. But back in the day, if you had like, Windows, 8 or something, if you wanted a better version of Windows, then you had to upgrade to Windows 9 or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this just keeps upgrading itself.
Yeah, man. That's not an unfair statement. It's true. It is constantly upgrading. I think I used to have like the premium or whatever for Chat GPT, and then I just quit it. I just want to see what it was like. And now my free Chat GPT works as well as the paid one from a while ago.
Oh, okay.
So it's definitely improving itself.
Yeah, that's how I go. I'm paying for that Elon Musk, the Gronk 3 joint, for like $30 a month. So that's kind of pricey, but I've always been one of them people that ain't real good with saying the right things without insulting people, because I kind of like throw it flat out there. So I asked like the Gronk, like, how do I say this without offending people, or with more sensitivity? And it always gives me a good answer, and then I send that out, and then everybody loves me. It's like the artificial intelligence got
that is
more
so funny.
Emotional intelligence than me.
That is a funny ad. That is a funny ad for Grok. Like, that'd be a funny ad to a film. Like, people used to hate me. I used to just say what was on my mind. But then Grok helped me filter everything. Like, that'd be a funny ad to just film. But that is interesting. Yeah, these things are going to be pretty useful. You could pretty much ask it mostly anything linguistically, and it'll at least attempt to do what you want it to do.
Right, yeah. So anytime I'm at work and I need to send an email to my boss, I ask Gronk to write this email for me, and my boss thinks I'm a genius now.
There you go. Yeah, man. We got to get on that AI wave, supercharge.
Yep.
Get on the CEO's level. Dennis, man, I do have to vacate here shortly. You got to catch Punchy today. Don't know if you're familiar with Punchy TV.
Yeah, that's when all you guys get together and start
Yeah,
talking.
man.
Right?
We got a cool guest today,
Yeah,
so we're going to get that all set up here in the studio for today's premiere on that. So definitely check it out, man. Appreciate your call. Last thing you want to say?
All right. No, I'm good. Yeah, I'll check y'all out on Punchy. Check you later.
Take care, Dennis. All right, 888-775-3773. I mean, we better do it now. I only got barely a few minutes here. We shall be vacating shortly. Thank you, Anthony, with the coffees and all that. Appreciate the support. Incredible. But what else here? Now, let me see here. In the last few, do I have time for this? Do I even have time for such a thing? We might have to leave this for tomorrow. We're going to have to do that for tomorrow. Moving it all around. Anyways, I did, concerning AI, since he brought it up, since Dennis brought it up, I was thinking I was going to research something here. A little thread to pull on. You hear about the birth rates, right? Low birth rates. The populations of the West are not replacing themselves. They're not having enough babies to replace themselves. But then I'm also getting evidence that not might be true for all cases. Like when you look around, it might be that way. But if you pick out certain specific demographics and groups, it changes. Now, am I reading this incorrectly? U.S. Amish and Mormon populations projected 2,100. The projected populations for the Amish and the Mennonites and the Mormons. Shout out to them. Now, I believe this is in response. See, that little map I just showed you is in response to this. Birth rates are plummeting in a lot of countries. Population collapse is the greatest threat to civilization. Change needs to happen to save humanity. Yeah, and if you look at this, it's like everybody, France, EU, Germany, Finland, Italy, Spain. It's just like, just plummeting. Doesn't look good. Looks pretty darn bad. But then it turns out inside of those groups, there are those that seem to be totally outside of the average. And if you were to follow those trends, maybe all those other people will die out, but not these. So I'm wondering, are there others besides Amish and Mormon? If this is a map I'm to trust? Projected populations, it looks like Amish and Mormon. It's going to be a plenty Amish and Mormons in America. I was wondering, are there other populations like that? I'll leave you with that maybe to smoke on. And I'll probably have smoked on it too. And if I have info, I'll come and bring it to you. Okay? That's pretty much how we'll leave that. Okay? I was just thinking about that a bit. All these countries have insane populations. I don't get this. There's no shortage of people, just a shortage of consumers who will buy anything more than bread and milk. What? Anyways, chat can confuse me sometimes. Did Nick's parents live in an igloo in Canada? It gets 15 below there. Well, you guys just think there's only igloos up there, huh? I remember that being a thing that offended people. I thought that was silly. Because I remember attempting to build an igloo when it snowed. Am I what? Am I peddling in Canadian offensive stereotypes? Like, that's what we did. I got one of these, what was it? One of those Rubbermaid tubs. Yeah. I grabbed a few of these. This was my mind. This was the mind I had. In my mind, I had to engineer an igloo. I had never done such a thing, right? In my mind, I only had an image of an igloo in my mind from cartoons, drawings, something like this, right? So I'm sure you're familiar. In my mind, I had to engineer an igloo. And no, I did not even Google this. I did not Google anything. This was like purely born out of me. Like despite being millennial, like out there in the yard with the children playing. Like that's how that happened. I got one of these, filled it up with snow, and then I popped out the block, the brick created within the Rubbermaid tub. And that's how we created bricks. And then we just made enough of those, and then we stacked up the bricks into an igloo shape. And we made an igloo. Anybody ever make an igloo? That was awesome. That was the best. And then we got more snow and then just kind of filled in the cracks and looked more like like a filled in igloo. Without lines and blocks. Kind of more like no, not that. What is this? Anyways. Google shopping. Get out of here. Yeah, more like this. All smooth. But anyways, folks, that's it for me. I never even made a snowman, says Kale. You know how you do that, right? You got to start with you got to make a snowball. And then you roll up the snowball, right? You put it on, right? You gotta have the right kind of snow, but not always. You can kind of make it work. And you get the snowball, you put it on the ground, and you roll it up. Once it gets big enough that you can't kind of hold it, it can get pretty heavy. You start pushing this thing, this big ball, and you're rolling up the snow. That's how you make these the big like body of the snowman. Or you just pile it up too. I mean, honestly, you just get piles of snow and just start going like this. Just kind of like smash it and just start shaping whatever you want to shape. Anyways, that's the anchor baby in the snow. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Don't miss Punchy. Today's going to be a cool episode with Pearl. Punchy TV on YouTube, punchy.tv. We'll be streaming the premiere on all that. That's it for now, though. I'll be back tomorrow for more American Anchor Baby, all right? Take care. Don't miss the epi. Like, subscribe, do the things. Leave a comment. But for now, take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. What the? Bye.